I know Him on a very personal level as my waymaker.
In the name of Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. In the name of Jesus.
Earlier this week, Monday morning, if you want to just map it out, I was down praying and the Lord began to work on me, and I didn't know it was going to be for such a time as this. And He began to work on me as I was down praying, and He asked a question to my mind. How much? And I was not praying about anything pertaining to this. He laid it on my mind, and it was, how much sunlight does a seed need? So tonight I want to bring to you, don't mess with my seed. But not like you think. Y'all can be seated too. The reading doesn't come for a good little while later. If a farmer or a gardener wants to have a bountiful harvest, it all begins with that seed. Before the seed can even be placed near the ground, it has to go through a preparation phase. And that doesn't sound too bad, does it? Seeds come with a coat. Most of the time, a thick or hard coat, which is there for that seed's protection. What's on the inside of that seed? Look at somebody and tell them tonight, don't mess with my seed.
Don't mess with my seed.
And don't forget that, because I'm going to have you turn to your neighbor again after a while and say it with some authority. Like you done messed with something that you love. That seed coat, and there's nothing wrong with wearing a coat to protect us from, like say a raincoat, a winter coat, protect us from things like that, unless you're a seed of God. Would you all agree tonight that you gathered in a place where we're all amongst some godly seeds in this house tonight? Most seeds in the natural go through a few processes to get them ready to be put into the ground. I'm only going to speak to you tonight about the most commonly one. The one I'm going to bring to you tonight, this process involves the weakening, and Brother Shane, I may shed some tears during this, and you'll understand why. This process involves the weakening, opening, or altering of that seed coat in the natural to encourage future growth. How's that done? In the natural, that seed will be filed with a metal file, placed in a container with other seeds, and shaken together against sandpaper. Nicked with a knife, cracked gently with a hammer. I don't know how you can crack a seed gently with a hammer, but that's what they say. All of those examples describe a preparation process known as scarification. How often do you feel as a seed of God that you were filed on? That you were shaken up? That you were stabbed in the back? And you were hit with a hammer, not so gently? Would you allow me tonight to speak just a little bit of life to you? It's all part of the process. Do you find yourself living for God radically? But still, in living for God radically, you have some unmet needs and unanswered prayers. Then hold on. And now I want you to turn to the person closest to you and say with some authority, don't mess with my seed.
Don't mess with my seed.
And I like that pointer finger right there that y'all have been doing. After that seed goes through the scarification process, a hole has got to be dug. And the seed is tossed or cast down into that hole. Dirt is then thrown on top of that seed until the hole is filled in and the seed sets in perfection of rainbows, butterflies, and thousands of angels with halos riding on clouds. No. That seed sits in utter darkness. It has been hit. It has been battered. It has been shaken. It has been stabbed in the back. That sounds nothing like the preparation of a godly seed. That sounds much like a graveyard. Now I want to shift that thought to the tares. Tares are injurious weeds resembling what has been planted. Would any of you tonight guess how much sunlight weeds need to grow? I was shocked when I found out that weeds grow best in shallow ground, and weeds don't need near the sunlight that the seeds of a plant needs. Oftentimes, we can see those tares growing, those weeds growing all around us, up above us even. And we would question God. I don't know about all the rest of y'all, but I question God. Why would you give those weeds the advantage over your godly seed? What have those weeds done that godly seed has not done? And to make matters even worse, your word tells me to let the tares grow, let the weeds grow. So if I'm going to remain faithful and be that godly seed, then I have to just let that tare grow. And that doesn't seem fair. That doesn't seem right. And that doesn't seem like you're going to come to anything. But let me tell you tonight that God is sneaky. God is sneaky and He's very calculated. Very calculated. Upon looking up some of the weeds that grow, and don't get quiet tonight. Don't get quiet. I'm one of the loudest ameners in this place, so don't get quiet on me. There, on research on a little bit of the weeds that grow, there are some weeds that farmers find beneficial. You see, weeds, they sprout up faster than the seed that farmer plants. All for a reason. Because just like God, that farmer has to be just a little sneaky and calculated. But you see, those weeds, when they come to fruition quicker than that godly seed, we find looking out of that window, and they just flap there in the wind. They flap there because they're tall, they're grown up, and our seed is still below the ground. They advertise it to us. They throw it to our face. Look at me. I'm above the ground.
All right.
Come on, brother. Come on.
There are some weeds that the farmers find beneficial. And they are planted there for that reason, to attract more than just our attention. They attract the attention of some bugs. So while our seed is still in the ground, unseen, and their weeds grow so tall and fly and flap in the wind and advertise to us and the bugs begin to attach themselves to those tares that fly in the wind. And they eat, and they eat, and they eat, and they eat. And when that godly seed, when that seed that the farmer plants comes to fruition and breaks forth the ground, the bugs are so full from eating on the tares, on the weeds, they don't want to eat what you planted.
Come on. Amen.
There's a few more tares that are planted that are beneficial, and they give off a smell. And there again, they grow quicker than what is planted. They give off a smell that repels animals away. So while our seed is unseen, those tares are up and letting off that smell that is very offensive to animals that would come in and eat our plant after it comes forward. That scarification process, going back to that seed, the scarification, that's a hard word to say, process prepares the seed in a way that would prepare it for the receiving of water and of oxygen.
Yeah.
I would ask, does anyone here tonight,
Thank you, Jesus.
do they stand over what would seem like a grave in the natural of a godly seed? Do you speak life to that godly seed that has been thrown down into that ground? Do you shed tears in intercessory prayer over that godly seed that is unseen in the ground? Or will you be distracted by the tares that flap in the wind? As the water reaches the seed, it activates growth. That seed grows a root. And then all of a sudden, something miraculous happens.
Yes.
Unseen by the tares, unseen by the visible eye, that seed then begins to turn and come up to that light.
Yeah. Amen.
Somebody say, don't mess with my seed.
Don't mess with my seed.
In growing towards the light, the seedling breaks the ground, and as it does, it has to shed something that is left. There's a little bit of leftover from that scarification process. You see there's a little thin coat that is left on there.
Right.
And as that seed comes forth, breaks through that ground, it strips off or takes off the leftover of that coat. How we put that seed in the ground does not look the same when it breaks through the ground again and takes that coat off. And that's what Shoshana, I'm going to go to the Word. And it's going to read just a little bit different. I'm sorry now. Now a certain man named Lazarus was ill. He was of Bethany, the village where Mary and her sister Martha lived. So the sisters sent to him, saying, Lord, he whom you love so well is sick. When Jesus received the message, he said, this sickness is not to end in death, but on the contrary, it is to honor God and to promote his glory. And the Son of God may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. They were his dear friends, and he held them in loving esteem. Therefore, even when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he still stayed 2 days longer in the same place where he was.
Yeah.
God, you knew the need, and you're just going to stand there. That feels like a stab in the back to me.
Okay.
That doesn't feel like love to me. But somebody say tonight, don't mess with my seed.
Don't mess with my seed.
Bethany was near Jerusalem, only about 2 miles away. And a considerable number of Jews had gone out to see Martha and Mary to console them concerning their brother, because that's what the nameless crowd does.
Yeah.
So close, yet so far, you were God.
Yes.
And as Jesus comes closer to town, Martha goes out to meet Jesus and says, the weeds of unbelief, disappointment, and discouragement grow. And your godly seed is dead.
Oh, Jesus. Lord, have mercy.
Thank you, Lord.
But Jesus, he reminded her, the seed is alive.
Yes.
Don't mess with my seed.
Yes. Thank you, Jesus.
You didn't find Martha there. Sorry, Sister Martha. On your birthday. You didn't find Sister Martha there in intercessory prayer over that godly seed. But then he sends for Sister Mary. And when she comes in haste to Jesus, she cries at his feet over that godly seed.
Yes.
Then the nameless crowd, that I don't put much faith in their tears, the unbelievers cried. And then we read that Jesus wept. Jesus cried.
Yes.
In intercessory prayer
Hallelujah.
over that godly seed.
Yes. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God.
Remind somebody tonight, don't mess
With my seed.
with my seed. If anybody ever received intercessory prayer, it was Jesus' dear friend Lazarus. But I want to take you back just a little bit. Who did God use to scar up and bury his seed named Lazarus? And I can't prove this in the Word. This is just probable. At the very beginning of what Jesus was saying, Lazarus was sick. It was not to end in death. And by revealing God's Word in the flesh, I believe tonight that hell began to work. And we all know what that feels like when hell begins to work after we receive a message from Jesus. Unbelief pronounced Lazarus dead. Unbelief, it tied his hands. It tied his feet. And Brother Shane, it bound his mouth. And to make matters even worse, it threw him in a dark, lonely tomb. And it cut him off from the light. And then wrote a stone over the entry or the exit. It makes no sense that God would allow that. But I can just see how Jesus on the way walking there would say, don't mess with my seed. You couldn't if you tried. Don't mess with my seed. You couldn't if you tried. Does this world or the workers of iniquity, has it pronounced an area in your life dead? Do you find your hands bound down to where you can't raise them in praise? I've been there. As crazy as that sounds, Brother Carol, I've been there. Do you find yourself, your feet bound together to where you cannot walk out? And do you find your mouth bound up to where you can't praise your Creator? Did you come tonight with something that binds you, binds your mouth, binds your praise, and binds your feet from walking up to this altar and receiving life? If that is the case, then I want to say good. I want to say good. Because that godly seed inside of you is right on process. God's glory is about to shine in your life. Somebody say, "I'm blessed with my seed." Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Then insert Martha. Martha, the sister of the dead man, exclaimed, "But Lord, by this time he is decaying and throws off an offensive odor. For he has been dead 4 days." And this is the part that I love. Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you? Did I not tell you and promise you that if you would believe and rely on me, you would see the glory of God?"
Thank you, Lord.
So they took away the stone. There stood Jesus, and the word says they took away the stone. Didn't say Jesus took away the stone. So they took away the stone, and Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. Yes, I know you always hear me and listen to me, but I have said this on account of and for the benefit of the people standing around, just standing there, so that they may believe that you did send me, that you have made me your messenger. When he had said this, he shouted with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out! And out walked the man who had been dead, his hands and his feet wrapped in burial clothes, linen strips, and a burial napkin bound around his face. Jesus said to them, free him of the burial wrappings and let him go. Again, I can't prove it through the word, but I find it highly probable. The same ones that buried Lazarus, let's go back, the same ones that pronounced Lazarus dead, Brother Shane. The same ones that tied his hands together, that bound his feet, and that shut his mouth up, are the same ones that laid him in that tomb, rolled that stone over the exit, and cut him off from the light. They are the same very ones that had to watch their work, not just watch their work, but they had to undo their work. What a waste of time that was for them. And how foolish did they feel and look. I would ask you tonight, who has God allowed to scar your seed up? Who has God allowed to pronounce your seed dead? Who has he allowed to tie and bind and bury you so good that it cuts you off from the light of God, so it seems? You just watch out, because they'll be the same ones that will have to undo every part of their hard work. Upon seeing what Jesus had done, going back to the words, Sister Sean. Upon seeing what Jesus had done, many of the Jews who had come with Mary believed in him. And I love how the Amplified Version Classic puts it. They trusted in him and adhered to him and relied on him. Again tonight, I want to ask you, who will your scarification process, your burial, and your miraculous resurrection bring to believing in God? Will it be an atheist? Will it be someone that is just about to lose their way and you have no idea about it? Will it be a backslider? Will it be someone young? Will it be someone old? Look at somebody and say tonight, don't mess with my seed. Say it with authority tonight. Don't mess with my seed. You never know who is going to see the glory of God and change for good when they see everything that seed goes through. The scarification, the burial, and the miraculous resurrection. You have no idea who you're going to bring to the believing in the God that makes no sense. The God that I have found that only dabbles in nonsense. And I'm perfectly fine with that. Because if it made sense, then I really just don't think that it would be God. Because that is who he is.